So as of yesterday, the PlayStation 5 has officially launched worldwide, pretty much. I know there are certain places that still don't have it, I'm sorry, that sucks. I know how it feels to wait. In Europe we had to wait another 7 days compared to the rest of the world. But anyway, it's still pretty much worldwide launched. But obviously this thing is extremely sought after and supply is very low. So the question is, did you manage to get one? Let me know down below. Did I manage to get one? The answer is yes. I actually got mine delivered yesterday after thinking that I wouldn't get one. And of course the cool kids already know this story obviously because they follow me on Twitter. Link is down below if you want to do that too. Also subscribe to the channel while you're down there. Anyway, obviously the first thing I did with the PlayStation 5 was playing a little bit of Spider-Man Miles Morales. This game is amazing, and by the way, I upgraded my setup to a 4K TV, the LG C10 I think it's called. This thing is absolutely amazing. Nevertheless, I downloaded also a couple of Battlefield games right away on the PlayStation 5. And I was thinking, you know, there are so many games, or you know, there are a couple of games now that are playing better on the PlayStation 5 than they did on the PlayStation 4. Some of them got a dedicated PlayStation 5 optimized version and some don't. And I was wondering if any of the Battlefield games would get optimized. And as far as I know, none of them have. But Battlefield 1 does come with the PlayStation Plus Starter Pack, or whatever you want to call it. This is a collection of amazing PlayStation 4 games that you can play right away on the PlayStation 5 for free if you have PlayStation Plus. And I know that some of them have been optimized for the PlayStation 5, so I wanted to test at least Battlefield 1. Now we're gonna start with actually booting up the game from the home screen to see if there is an actual difference. So let's see what the custom SSD of the PlayStation 5 can do. So on the left we have the PlayStation 4 version of Battlefield 1 and on the right we have the PlayStation 5 version. Both started exactly at the same time when I pressed X to start both games, at exactly the same frame, so keep that in mind. Obviously this doesn't mean anything for gameplay, but faster loading times are always welcome. You know, keep in mind, Battlefield 1 is not optimized for PlayStation 5, so what are the results? Okay, so when starting the game, the PlayStation 5 is quicker, that was pretty obvious, but it's nothing major. Still, it is nice to see this game boot up so fast from your home console, you know? It is a nice feeling. It is something you kinda demand for the next generation now, but it's there and I like it. Next up we're gonna load in an empty server on Soissons. I chose this map specifically because for some reason this one always takes an eternity to load in. I honestly do not know why. So if there is any difference to note in loading times in these games on the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, it would be noticeable on this map. This is on an empty server though, but I don't think that matters too much. Anyways, we are loaded in on Soissons on the PlayStation 5 in about 32 to 35 seconds. That's not that bad, especially if you compare it to the PlayStation 4, which I'm gonna speed up now. On the PlayStation 4, it took about 90 seconds to load in on this map. So the PlayStation 5 loads in 3 times as fast without optimization. And keep an eye on the minimap and the HUD on the PlayStation 4. Not all assets are loading in yet on the PlayStation 4. So the actual final time, you know, when it's playable on the PS4 is closer to 2 minutes. And on the PlayStation 5 that was pretty much instantly. Okay, let's move on to Battlefield 5. There are some interesting things that I noticed with this game when it comes to playing it on the PS5. For the people who are new here and maybe don't know, Battlefield 5 is the most recent Battlefield title in the franchise and one of the worst, and it's not included in the PlayStation Plus collection, only Battlefield 1, so keep that in mind. Anyway, when starting up both games, we see that PlayStation 5 is obviously faster again, about 24 seconds to reach the title screen, and Battlefield 5 on the PS4 is about 43 seconds, so 20 seconds difference, give or take. I know these things don't seem like a big deal, but you know, over time, it saves a lot of loading times for you, and you know, it just feels better. Moving on, we loaded in yet again into an empty server with custom games on Hamada. On the PlayStation 5, we loaded in about 19 seconds, and on the PlayStation 4, we load in about 35 seconds. Nothing major still, but very interesting. One thing I immediately noticed, by the way, is the increased resolution between Battlefield 1 on the PlayStation 5 and Battlefield 5 on the PlayStation 5. So I do think that Battlefield 5 runs at a higher resolution on the PlayStation 5 compared to the PlayStation 4, but I could be wrong. Next up, just for fun, I loaded in on El Sandan, which is one of the biggest maps in the game I think, and this time we entered a populated server. Not that there's much of a difference, but it's still cool to see. On the PlayStation 5 it took about 28 seconds, and on the PlayStation 4 it's a whopping 1 minute and 5 seconds. Keep in mind that these tests are not really in a perfect environment. This is just a quick comparison, but it does show you, the usual speed of both consoles. Now last but not least, just for fun, let's load into Battlefield 4. Because this game is so old and actually a cross-gen title from the previous generation, for some reason I don't expect much of a difference between these two. As you can see, we can boot up other games on the PlayStation 5 while still in another game. It's not exactly the same as quick resume on the Xbox Series X, but a lot of people expect that to come in the near future for the PlayStation 5, and I do hope so. That would be cool. It's more than capable with the quick SSD. But anyway, it's still a step up from the PlayStation 4, where you first need to close your current game session. On the PlayStation 5 it takes 16 seconds to boot up and get to the menu screen, and on the PlayStation 4 it takes around 25 seconds. Nothing crazy, but still a noticeable decrease of almost half. By the way, on all of these tests I've disabled HDR because my Elgato just goes crazy when it's on, so keep that in mind. This test is done with HDR off. And also, while we load into an empty server on the biggest map in Battlefield 4, on the PS5 we don't have to insert the disc to play Battlefield 4 for some reason. I don't know if this is a known fact, but on the PS4 I can only play this game when inserting the disc, and on the PlayStation 5 I could download it, and I think usually a separate digital version of the game requires you to repurchase it, right? Otherwise you can just download the game and give the disc to your friends, so yeah, interesting. Let me know down below what that's all about, because I think I'm confused with something. Anyway, when it comes to loading into the map in Battlefield 4 on the PlayStation 4, you are actually like half a second faster, which is really interesting since you could see during the loading screens the PlayStation 5 seems to be, just ahead. So that's very strange. Obviously the difference could be just a measuring error or something like that. So for all intents and purposes this difference is negligible, but it's still very interesting that the loading times are pretty much exactly the same. Now finally, when it comes to actually playing these games on the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5, I honestly didn't notice much of a difference on both. It's not my Elgato game capture card, by the way, because even though I upload this in 1080p, I do have a 4K 60 signal pass-through, so I would still be able to see the difference on the PlayStation 5. Battlefield 5 does look a little bit better on the PlayStation 5, and overall on the PlayStation 5 it's a solid locked 60 FPS, there is no dips. But in my opinion, on the PS4 it's also a pretty steady 60 FPS, so in my opinion again, not that crazy of a difference. Still, the loading times are a nice welcome. Anyway guys, that's about it for the video. If you asked yourself the question if you should upgrade to a PS5 for the current Battlefield titles, then the answer, in my opinion, is obviously no. Although you can see a boost in certain areas, especially the loading times, I can safely say that none of these titles will ever be truly optimized for next gen like other games. For example, Ghost of Tsushima will run in 4K 60 on the PS5, so a massive upgrade there. And another example, Black Ops Cold War runs at 120 frames. That won't happen for the current gen Battlefield games unfortunately, but it's almost certain that when Battlefield 6 arrives, it most likely will be a next gen title only. I hope at least, because this game should be amazing and should not be held back by last gen. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick comparison between the two systems when it comes to Battlefield titles. A like is always appreciated, subscribe if you haven't already, join the Discord, and with that being said, I see you guys next time.